side. Murphy shooting, save a rebound on the view.
Hey guys, it is Red Rubber Duckman, and welcome to the 2023 March Madness Charity Drive, Day 9, Part 1. Now, I know I'm a little bit late because I just had a lot going on, and there's been a lot of games that we have to cover. Plus, the rest of the conference regular seasons are coming to an end this weekend. I think we have two ending tomorrow. I think we have two ending on Sunday and one that ended on Saturday. So there's that. So I'm going to split this video into two parts. One are the score updates, including automatic bids, our first ones of the season. And then part two is going to be the tournament previews, the ones that ended last night. So there's that. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. Let's not waste any more time because we got to catch up on some stuff. So let's start off with the Big South. You had UNC Asheville defeating USC Upstate 66-62. Now, Drew Pember was unstoppable for the Bulldogs, scoring 31 points. The biggest lead in the game was 7. That's how close it was throughout the whole game. When they were down 2, the Bulldogs went on a 9-0 run to take said biggest lead, and the rest was history. UNC Asheville will go on for their first Big South title game since 2016, and they will be taking on Campbell, who upset Radford 72-71. Anthony Del Orso led all Fighting Camels with 23 points. The game was close throughout, with the largest lead owned by the Highlanders by 9 points. Campbell shot 55.1% from the field, and Radford held a 71-60 lead in the final seconds, but Del Orso hit the game-winning jumper with a second left to send Campbell to the Big South title game against UNC Asheville. Now the game ended a long time ago. UNC Asheville looked to go into the tournament for the first time since 2016, and Campbell was fighting for their first bid since 1992. The recap on that will be coming up soon. But until then, let's jump into the Southern Conference. Number 1, Furman defeated Mercer 73-58. JP Plagues led all Paladins with 22 points. Only one Bear hit double figures, and that was Jalen McCreary with 18. The game was another example of they had us in the first half, not going to lie. Mercer led at halftime 32-29, and they got off to a hot start, but Furman turned on the Jets and never looked back. And the Furman Paladins will go on to take on Western Carolina, who would defeat East Tennessee State 69-57. 4 Catamounts ended in double figures, led by Tyshawn Quad with 15, while Jalen Haynes and Jordan King scored 23 and 18 respectively. They were the only Bucks to be in double figures. Nearly the entire game was all WCU. They made nearly half of their field goal attempts, and they continued to hold the lead on their way to the semifinals against top-seeded Furman. And Chattanooga upset Stanford 85-82. Both teams had 2 guys with 20-plus points, with the top scorers being Jamal Johnson scoring 25 points for the Mocs and Jermaine Marshall scoring 27 off the Bulldogs bench. While it looked like a close game at the end, it wasn't throughout, as Chattanooga was up by 18 at one point. Stanford was able to come back with Johnson's 3 with 36 seconds left, and that gave the Mocs a spark, and they will take on Wofford. And they would upset UNC Greensboro 67-66. 3 Terriers ended in double figures, with BJ Mack scoring 16 points and Messiah Jones and Jason Pavletsky scoring 14 points each. Keandre Kennedy scored 26 points for the Spartans in a losing effort. The game was within single digits the whole 40 minutes. With 2.8 seconds to go, Wofford inbounded the ball and Mack hit the game-winning layup when time expired. Wofford will take on the defending Southern champions, Chattanooga. We now go to the Colonial Athletic Association with William and Mary defeating Elon 73-51. Miguel Isa led the tribe with 23 points, and threes were raining all over the Phoenix, with William and Mary shooting 76.5% from three. The only lead for Elon was 3-0, and that was it. The tribe took the lead and never looked back. They will go up against top-seeded Hofstra. And then Drexel took on Monmouth, and they won 64-45. Amari Williams was the leading scorer for the Dragons, scoring 16 points. The top scorers for the Hawks were Miles Foster and Jakari Spence, who scored 10 points each. The same team that dropped 100 on Hampton couldn't do much here. Monmouth didn't score until the halfway point of the first half, and Drexel didn't have to do much. They'll go on to face UNC Wilmington. Number 10 seed Stony Brook defeated North Carolina A&T 76-61. Frankie Policelli was the leading scorer for the Seawolves, scoring 30 points. Stony Brook started with 6 minutes without a bucket, but regained themselves. The Aggies still had the lead at halftime, but the Seawolves kept the momentum up in the second half and will try to ride a momentum against the favorite, Charleston. And Delaware defeated Northeastern 77-74 in overtime. Jameer Nelson Jr. led the Blue Hens with 28 points, and Jamal Telford led the Huskies with 20 points. There was a plethora of lead changes and ties in this game. Delaware had a 12-point lead at one point, but Northeastern came all the way back to tie the game. Nelson would score all the points for Delaware in overtime and set up a date with Towson. In the Sun Belt, South Alabama upsets Southern Miss. For the third year in a row, the number one seed goes down, and they lost 78-61. Owen White led the Jaguars with 23 points, but the help came from the bench as Greg Parham II scored 17 points, while the Golden Eagles bench scored 0. The game was close and back and forth until South Alabama went on a 20-2 run, and for the third year in a row, the number one seed goes one and done. South Alabama will go up against James Madison, and they beat Troy 75-72. Terrence Edwards scored 27 points off the Duke's bench, and Christian Eugene scored 26 points for the Trojans in a losing effort. Ever since a 12-12 tie 7 minutes into the game, James Madison took the lead for a while. Troy rallied, but it was too little too late, as the Dukes booked a date with the Jaguars in the semifinals. And then number 11, Texas State upset number 3 Marshall 71-68. 5 Bobcats ended in double figures, led by Mason Harrell with 17 points. Andrew Taylor led the Thundering Herd with 19 points in a losing effort. Not one double-digit lead was had the whole game, and Marshall had the whole second half until Tyrell Morgan gave the Bobcats a 69-68 lead, and Taylor attempted the game-tying 3, but it would not go. Texas State will go up against Louisiana. And they beat Georgia Southern 67-49. Jordan Brown was one of 5 Raging Cajuns in double figures, scoring 16 points. For comparison, the Eagles only had 2 players in double figures. Since the 4-4 tie, Louisiana held the lead for good, and Louisiana will go up against Texas State in the semifinals. We now go to the America East. Unfortunately, Logical Canadian is not on here for this. The top seed of Vermont defeated NJIT 84-57. Dylan Penn was the leading scorer for the Catamounts, scoring 23 points. This game was your typical 1v8 game, with the lower seed, the Highlanders, keeping it close at first, but eventually the number one seed, Vermont, realized they should be dominating and they would take home the win. The Catamounts will go up against Binghamton, who defeated UMBC 67-65. Now, this game was actually delayed for 5 hours due to a power outage throughout the UMBC area. 4 Bearcats ended in double figures, led by Jacob Falco, scoring 16 points. Trayvon Fagan led the Retrievers with 18 points in a losing effort. The game was close throughout. Both teams were shooting at around the same rate, and it came down to free throws, and Binghamton did more. They will take on top-seeded Vermont. And number 2, Logical Canadian University, a.k.a. UMass Lowell, defeated Maine 85-54. The Riverhawks' leading scorer was Braden O'Connor off the bench, scoring 14 points. And Jetty Zozapades, I apologize if I butchered that, scored 16 points for the Black Bears. Only one Riverhawk didn't score as opposed to 3 for Maine. The game was close for 6 minutes until UMass Lowell took over and never looked back. The Riverhawks shot 57.4% from the field, including 50% from beyond the arc. UMass Lowell will host New Hampshire, who beat Bryant 67-60. Clarence O'Daniels II was the leading scorer for the Wildcats, scoring 22 points. Earl Timberlake led the Bulldogs with 18 points in a losing effort. The game was actually close throughout, and Bryant actually had a 5-point lead at halftime, but New Hampshire turned it on in the second half, including a game-sealing 3.5-minute run to set up a date with the Riverhawks. We now go to the Missouri Valley, where the top-seeded Bradley defeated Indiana State 71-70. I said that this was going to be a good matchup, and let's be honest, it was. The top scorer for the Braves was Jashawn Henry, scoring 17 off the bench. Cameron Henry and Robbie Ovia scored 16 points each for the Sycamores. The game was close throughout until Bradley went on a run and took an 11-point lead. Indiana State was able to battle back, but free throws from Malevi Leon sent the Braves to the MVC title game against Drake, who beat Southern Illinois 65-52. 4 Bulldogs finished in double figures, led by Roman Penn with 16 points, and Lance Jones was the only Saluki in double figures with 18 points. After a 9-0 Southern Illinois run, Drake turned it on and eventually took the lead for good. The Bulldogs will get a date with Bradley in the MVC title game. Now, the game was already played. Bradley was looking for their first title since 2020, and Drake was looking for their second tournament appearance in 3 years and first Missouri Valley Conference title since 2008. We now go to the Northeast as top-seeded Merrimack defeated Sacred Heart 71-60. 4 Warriors ended in double figures, led by Jordan Miner with 18 points. Despite the Pioneers out-rebounding Merrimack 46-27, Sacred Heart couldn't connect shots on a few stretches. There were a few instances where the Pioneers battled back, but they were all for naught as the Warriors will host the NEC Championship. Now, with Merrimack being ineligible for the NCAA tournament, the Northeast Conference said that the winner of this semifinal game will get the NEC's automatic bid early. And that winner was Fairleigh Dickinson, beating St. Francis of Pennsylvania 70-50. Dimitri Roberts led all nights with 18 points. Maxwell Land led the Red Flash with 13 points. The last lead St. Francis had was 11-10, and since then it was all Fairleigh Dickinson. And with that, the Knights will go to the tournament for the first time since 2019. They have a chance to collect some hardware as they travel to Merrimack for the NEC title game. We now go to the Summit League as Oral Roberts defeated North Dakota 96-80. 4 Golden Eagles ended in double figures with Carlos Jurgens leading the way with 21 points. In a losing effort, 5 Fighting Hawks ended in double figures, led by BJ Omat with 15. Shooting-wise, they were around the same, but North Dakota was a turnover bakery, leading that category 15-2. Oral Roberts led the whole game and are still undefeated in the Summit League play. They will take on either Western Illinois or St. Thomas. And then South Dakota State defeated Omaha 63-55. Now, both teams had 2 players in double figures, with Alex Arians and Zeke Mayo scoring 18 and 14 respectively for the Jackrabbits, and Jaden Marshall and Frankie Fiddler scored 19 and 11 points respectively. An eventful first half was met with a slow second half, and South Dakota State did just enough to move on, and they'll take on either North Dakota State or South Dakota. In the Big Sky, Northern Arizona defeated Idaho 87-76. Jalen Cone led all Lumberjacks with 25 points in a losing effort. Isaac Jones led the Vandals with 23. It was close throughout the majority of this game, but Northern Arizona used 2 big runs to walk away with the win. They will take on top-seeded Eastern Washington. Northern Colorado defeated Portland State 84-80. Matt Johnson II led all Bears with 22 points in a losing effort. Cameron Parker led all Vikings with 23 points. And actually, Cameron Parker was part of that losing effort. Sorry about that. Northern Colorado had a double-digit lead on 2 occasions, and Portland State was able to battle back, but it made it a close game. But Northern Colorado did just enough, and Dalen Coots and Dalton Connect hit the game-stealing free throws, and they will take on the defending champions from the Big Sky, Montana State. We now go to the Ohio Valley Championship, our first conference championship of the year, and it saw Southeast Missouri State beat Tennessee Tech 89-82 in overtime. The Redhawks' dynamic duo struck again as Chris Harris and Philip Russell finished with 26 and 21 points respectively, and the Golden Eagles were led by Deontay Wood coming off the bench scoring 24 points. Now, SEMO was in control of the lead for almost the whole regulation, but Deontay Wood hit the game-tying shot and sent the game to overtime. There was a review whether it was a 2 or a 3, but the 2 stood. And the Redhawks went on a 13-2 run in the final minutes of overtime to end it. And the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks are the 2023 Ohio Valley Tournament champions, and they will go to the tournament for the first time since 2000. We now go to the West Coast Conference, and number 5 BYU defeated number 4 Loyola Marymount 73-63. Rudy Williams led all Cougars with 23 points, and in a losing effort, Cam Shelton led all Lions with 27 points. The only Loyola Marymount lead was 4-2. Other than that, BYU held the lead the whole game, except for ties at 2 and 26 all. They shot 52.6% from the field, including 47.1% from beyond the arc, and the Cougars will take on top-seeded St. Mary's. And number 6, San Francisco upset number 3, Santa Clara, 93-87 in double overtime. Khalil Shabazz led all Dons with 38 points, and in a losing effort, Brandon Pozimski and Carlos Stewart led all Broncos with 22 points each. It was a shame that this game started after midnight Eastern time because this was game of the year material. Santa Clara held 2 double-digit leads, but San Francisco battled back each time. Hence, that's why we went to double overtime there. And the Dons went on an 8-0 run to end double overtime, and they will book a date against Gonzaga. So that's going to do it for Day 9, Part 1 of the 2022 or 2023 March Madness Charity Drive. Technically, it is the 2022-2023 season. But please stay tuned for Part 2. That's going to be coming up here shortly. And that's going to do it. I am Red Rubber Duckwind. Until we meet again, please like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention link in the description. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.